Good morning from Tim at AlphaWolfTrading.com, coming at you with this morning's pre-market prep with stocks to watch. Something I do for the pro members over at Alpha Wolf Trading each and every day. I'm going to go ahead and get right into it and take a look at the stocks on the radar for this morning. Markets are looking pretty good in pre-market after some blowout earnings from some of the big boys in tech. Weakest sector out there right now, biotech. Doesn't mean we can't get some snapback plays, but looks like we've got some significant weakness in that space. We do have a candle that is completely out of the lower Bollinger Band for the IBB. We could get some snapback plays there, but I would be cautious in that sector. Looks like we just got some earnings out of the big oils. ExxonMobil actually got a little bit of a pop up to about 85 and now pulling back, but does look like a decent um, number out of Exxon. So we've had we had a very busy week with earnings this week, and we had for the most part a lot of good earnings coming out. So market had ran into this earnings season. We needed to have some really tremendous numbers in order to continue to take us higher, and I think probably that is going to continue. Just have to be selective with the sectors that you're looking to play. Anyway, Plug is on the radar. This could be an interesting swing, long-term hold play, maybe even a day trade on a break over the trend line with some conviction, with some volume. I believe they report in the next week or so. 225 million shares in the float, 17% short interest. With the expansion of Amazon and them starting their own delivery service, or and looking to open up a new corporate facility, Plug could be one that benefits from Amazon's growth. So keep an eye on this one. There's some insider buying, I believe, in the 220 range, and recently given out some grants at 261. I think 250, 240 could be an interesting spot to take this. And if it takes out the trend line with some conviction and some volume, you could get a decent day trade out of this. So worth keeping an eye on Plug for either a swing on a pullback to support of around 250, $2.40, somewhere in that area, or a day trade on a break over the trend line with some strength. Let's take a look at CLNT. Now this is a pop and flopper. They have some news this morning. They took 51% interest in a company that does social economy related. This is a big time pop and flopper. You just look at it, right? Every time it pops, it flops. It's popping this morning, gapping up on light volume, 33,000 shares. Do not chase the gap on this. Could it set up for an intraday setup, maybe a scalp opportunity? Absolutely, that's possible. Make sure you play the size appropriate. Like I said, it's only got 1 million shares in the float, 13% short interest. Could it get squeezy? You bet it could, but don't chase it. Make sure you play it size appropriate. It is a pop and flopper. ONCS, 10% owner, announced and I think 5%, an additional 5% stake or something to that effect last night after the close. They already did an offering. It priced at 135, so that's behind you. They had some good news, some phase 2 data results that a lot of people seem shocked that this didn't actually get a nice pop off of that. They actually wound up pulling back. A dollar seems to be acting as support. Got a little bit of a bounce yesterday after the close to about $1.20 or so. Maybe look for a red to green on this one. Pull back to $1.15 or so, and then bounce. Take out that 135. Could be a day trade. Could be a higher risk swing because of the fact this is a biotech. Now you're going to be battling the sector itself, so you got to keep that in mind. Only 18.4 million shares in the float, but some decent volume recently. Worth keeping an eye on this one for a trading opportunity. You'd, like I said, either a day trade or a higher risk swing. Um, ACTG. So this is the one that owns a big portion of Veri, VERI. Reported last night, crushed earnings, $3 and change versus well, let's take a look. ACTG, $3.31 versus 32-cent estimate. So their sales were down year over year, but their earnings were pretty darn good. So got some resistance here at $4.60, 65 cents, somewhere around there. They got the 200-day moving average. This did pop to $4.70 and currently sitting at about $4.50. I'm looking at this thinking maybe a pullback to 425 or so, see if that holds, and then look for a bounce. 48 million shares in the float. Have not listened to the conference call on this. I probably will do that today. Over the 50-day moving average, rising 50-day. Looking for it to take out the 200-day. I think maybe you get a 5 test and roll. Worth keeping an eye on that one for a day trade opportunity if you get some good volume, and maybe a swing if it pulls back into the $4 range, $4.15, $4. That could be an interesting spot to take it for a swing. Let's see, MB, which reported earnings last night, had a big pop over a area of price resistance. Now this could be a fake breakout here. We'll see how it plays out, but got up to about $33 and then pulled back. It's currently sitting at about $29.50, I believe. Yep, $29.50. And that happens to be where we had some resistance. So you back this out to the weekly time frame. It's flirting with all-time highs, right? You're flirting with a potential flat top breakout. Now here's what I will say about it. It's overbought, right? We are overbought on the weekly time frame. The daily, we're actually looking okay in terms of being overbought, but we've got a golden cross about to happen here with the 50-day looking like it's potentially going to break over the 200-day. Right now, what was resistance appears to be acting as support, but if we break back below, right? If we break back below, we're unable to hold this. I think it gets really compelling as a swing or long-term hold consideration on a pullback to this cluster of moving averages. So it's only got 26 million shares in the float and 22% short interest. So thin stock. It does trade decent volume, 503,000 shares traded hands yesterday. So it does trade decent volume, but this one could be really interesting today. We'll see if this 29 acts as support for it for a bounce. Maybe if this gets down to 28, 28.30, 28.50, maybe you start to build a little swing position there. If it gets down to 26 and change, you look to add. That's for a swing or long-term hold. But probably going to listen to this one as well. Listen to the earnings report on this one. But this is in a interesting spot. Look for some volume. Definitely worth paying attention to MB. I like the look. Lower left, upper right. Good looking chart. And it looked like they had pretty decent earnings. So we'll see how that one plays out. ITUS. So ITUS paid off their debt, their secured debt. It's at an area where it's, if it's going to bounce, this could be the spot to do it, right? It's right at the 50-day simple moving average. It did gap up a little bit in pre-market here. ITUS got up to about $2.30 and then pulled back. So we're sitting right at, looks like 225. in pre-market, which is right around where we've got the 200-day moving average. This gets some serious volume today. This could be a day trading opportunity, and that's really all I'd be looking for in ITUS is a day trade or scalp. Maybe it pulls back to $2 or a $1.95, and then you get a red to green move on ITUS. It's moving on very little volume in pre-market, so I certainly would not chase it, but potentially look for some kind of an intraday setup on ITUS. B Cove reported earnings. This could be it's gapping a little bit in pre-market. Maybe this gets an 8 test. You do have a gap to fill on the daily up to about 8 and change. You see what it's doing right now. BCOV. Oh, got up to about $7.80, and now let's see where it is. Looks like it's still in that range. Now I would look for a pullback to the 750 area, 740. See if that holds the support. Could be a red to green move there. 33 million shares in the float, small float. Worth keeping an eye on for a potential day trade opportunity. Gap fill. A10, I want to bring this one up because it's kind of interesting. They reported earnings. They were better than they see increased revenue moving forward. They announced a share buyback, which share repurchase program, which the CEO indicated that the share repurchase authorization announced today reflects our confidence in our market opportunities and commitment to enhancing shareholder value. Sounds really, really good. What's interesting about that, though, is if you pull up A10, see, share buyback announcements, I think they're great and everything. They don't hold a lot of weight with me. They don't have to do the buyback. It's they can pull out at any time. I think what is more interesting is what are the insiders doing, and the CEO that just said, that's the company's belief and how well things are going there. He's selling the crap out of his stock all the way up to October 23rd. Okay, at 7.53, he sold it at $6. He sold it at $8. He has sold it continuously. So that share repurchase program, he probably needs the company to buy back his shares. I guess that's probably what he's doing there. Anyway, be careful with A10. Could there be a day trade in there? Possibly. I would be careful. I personally would not hold the shares overnight. And that's that on A10. So, all right, let's move on here. A10, we did plug already. Let's take a look at MRIN. Actually had a nice little pop yesterday. They just did a reverse split. Good volume yesterday. A break over this trend line. Flirting with the 14 roll. Maybe on a pullback to 1360 or so. A little red to green action. Let me see what it's doing here. MRIN. See if it's doing anything in pre-market. It's not really doing anything in pre-market. So, don't chase this thing. But, it does have kind of an interesting look here. I mean, yesterday it had some pretty good range. Down to 1250, up to 14. Look to see if this gets any kind of follow-through action today. Like I said, maybe a red to green move on MRIN. And then there's also, let's see, what else do they have? RNN. One of the guys in the live pre-market prep brought this up. Nice little pop yesterday on pretty good volume. The issue here is that you will be, battling the sector, the IBB. Maybe you look for a pullback to 190, red to green move, get a pop up into the 225, 230 area. Could be a good day trading opportunity, even maybe a higher risk swing on this one. I mean, you've got if you can get it at a $1.90, You know, buck 95, you put your stop just below. Um, yeah, put your stop just below 180, maybe 179, 175, something like that. You're looking for it to maybe get a gap fill right up to 279. So interesting potential day trade or high risk swing there with RNN. Let me see W. I'm going to bring up this SPAR. So this one, I actually tried to take this for a day trade yesterday off of a news release, and it wasn't going anywhere. This one's got earnings coming up next week. It actually has a really good looking daily time frame. The chart on this, nice looking setup. I took it. I made like 15 cents on this thing. I was wondering why it wasn't going after this announcement of a $214 million contract. Well, it's because it was old news, actually, and that's why this big spike happened. So, uh, probably waiting on earnings. This is a turnaround story, 33 million shares in the float, but worth having on your radar after earnings, right? This could be a pretty interesting play after earnings. I think this might be, no, it's not all-time highs. It's actually went up to about 25 bucks a share. So, you know, 1850 would be an area of resistance potentially. Um, I think this one is definitely worth keeping an eye on. It's overbought on the weekly time frame. You know, pull back to 15 bucks. Maybe that's a potential entry, or 1450, somewhere in that range. I mean, that's a pretty sizable contract, and I imagine that will impact their backlog positively. So we'll see. But SPAR is worth keeping an eye on just because of the setup. All right. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this and get it out to you. There are other stocks that are on our radar this morning, but that's a pretty good example of what we do over at Alpha Wolf Trading every day. If you like what I do and you are looking for a home, come check us out. And make sure you sign up to get the 5 and 5 stocks to watch that I do every week, every weekend for the upcoming week at alphawolftrading.com. All right, have a fantastic day. Good luck trading. Have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see y'all next week.